What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, before I get into this video, I want to remind you guys, as always, that if you want to show love to this channel, if you want to contribute to Raw for TV, you can do so on the links provided in the description box below, either the PayPal or the Cash App. And if you're looking at this video and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to Too Raw for TV. Hit that notification button so that you'll be notified of every video that drops as soon as it drops on my channel. And hit that like button if you like or at least appreciate the content that you see on my channel. I thank everybody that has subscribed to my channel over the past couple of months, and everyone that's contributed to my channel either financially or through the Patreon for only $2 per month. On the Patreon, able to talk about stuff over there that I can't talk about on YouTube. All right. And in this video, I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard went off in the fourth quarter last night, the game against the Utah Jazz. I think he scored 20 of his 30 points. I think it was 20 of his 30 points in the fourth quarter. And he propelled his team to a victory. And I think the Clippers are now 5-2 on the year. That loss that they handed the Utah Jazz was a revenge against the loss that they had I think it was last week in a game that the Jazz beat the Clippers, although Kawhi Leonard did not play in that particular game. Basically, in this video, I want to talk about the comparisons between Kawhi Leonard and Michael Jordan. I first said something about it. I think the first video when I really talked about it at any length was the game where he hit the series winning shot against the Philadelphia 76ers last year in the playoffs. I think I was saying how watching him in that game sort of reminded me of watching Jordan, like either when he had it going against the Wizards, when he was with the Wizards, one of those games where he might went off for 40 or 45 or even 50 points. Or he kind of reminded me a little bit more of watching Jordan during the 98 season, like especially during the period of time when Scottie Pippen was out, the first half of the season, and Michael kind of had to, do more than what was normally required of him. He had to not only be a scorer, but he had to sometimes run the offense and be a playmaker out there. And, also as Jordan got older, he kind of became a little bit more of a volume scorer. Jordan, during his prime years, shot between 48 to 54% from the field. But in the last couple of years with the Chicago Bulls, his field goal percentage went from 50 to 46%. And then with the Wizards, he was shooting 41% the first year, but then he upped it to 44, 45% the second year. So anyway, yeah, he kind of reminds me of Michael in so many different ways. They both had large hands. Kawhi obviously has even larger hands than Michael, but they both have large hands, which allows them to do certain things with the basketball that players with smaller hands just can't really do. That was one of the things I think that separated Kobe from Michael. Kobe could possibly have been even greater than Michael had he had the same hand size that Michael had. I think Phil Jackson says something about that too. That Michael was just able to do certain things with the ball that Kobe couldn't because Kobe's hands were a little bit smaller. But yeah, they both have large hands. They both were shut down defensive players. Kawhi is the type of guy that just caused so much disruption out there. He's just an awesome defensive player. Not only is he a one-on-one defensive stalwart, he's a great help defender. He plays great team defense. He gets in the passing lanes and goes for steals, and that's very reminiscent of Michael Jordan. Jordan, I think led the NBA in steals 3 times in his career with 1988, 87-88 Defensive Player of the Year. And he did that when there was so much criticism of him that he was only concerned about scoring. So yeah, there's a lot of things that remind me of Michael, like the way that Kawhi utilizes the mid-range game. Although Kawhi does take more three-pointers and is a better three-point shooter than Michael was, but he does utilize the mid-range game and just certain things that he does that reminds me of Michael. Palming the ball and just different things that Kawhi does out there will kind of remind you a little bit of Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? He's not as spectacular as a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. But that's why I said he kind of reminds me of older Michael, when Michael wasn't flying through the air like, the young Mike, and he was kind of relying more on his, his moves. And, I still think he has a ways to go. If he wants to have a game like Michael, I think Michael was still a little bit more. I think Michael had more range in certain ways. Now Leonard has more range, I guess, if you want to say three-point shooting, but Michael had more spots on the floor. Michael had certain areas that he liked to shoot from. You know what I'm saying? But Michael kind of had, from 22 feet inward, you could argue that Jordan was the best shooter in the game. From 22 feet inward, he had the best mid-range game in the NBA. I think in the mid to late 1990s. Michael was probably one of the best post players in the NBA when he came back from retirement. He was becoming one of the better post players during the first championship run. You know what I'm saying? Phil Jackson really had Michael expand his game so many different ways. But Kawhi's on his way. Now, the thing I disagree with some people on is where I would rank Kawhi. I don't agree with Paul Pierce saying that he's already a top 30 player. I didn't have Kawhi Leonard in my top 50 going into last season. I probably would have had him like maybe, honestly, before last year. I don't even know if I would have him top 100. I don't think so. Only a two-time All-Star at the time. But last year, I really had to put him up a lot higher. I think I had him maybe like flirting with top 50, because it is an awesome accomplishment to have two final MVPs for two different teams. The only guy that I can think of that accomplished that is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So you have to jump a lot of spaces. But the thing that holds him back to me, I want to see more from Kawhi. I don't want to. Like, this is the thing. Are there certain people that I would still put ahead of Kawhi that aren't better than him as a basketball player? Yes. I don't think at this time that I could honestly say that George Gervin was a better basketball player than Kawhi Leonard overall. But George Gervin played, 15, 16 seasons? Multiple time All-Star in the ABA and NBA. It's just hard for me. I need a little bit more. It's hard for me to put a guy that's only been a three-time All-Star in a top 30 list. Right now I would put him top 50. If Kawhi Leonard was to have an even more dominant campaign than he did last year, and he was to lead the Los Angeles Clippers, the Clippers of all teams, to an NBA championship and win Finals MVP, that would be 2 straight years he's led franchises that had become kind of that have had, I'll say, less than stellar histories. The Toronto Raptors, of course, but the Clippers even more so. I remember the Clippers were an absolute joke of a franchise in the 1990s. And they've always been like the laughing stock of the LA franchises, to the point where some people thought maybe the Los Angeles Clippers need to go back to San Diego or something. But if he were to lead this Clippers team to a championship, and especially do it against LeBron James, a guy who I think he's chasing, then I would probably have to put him top 30 or top 25. But I still would need more from him. See, this is the thing. Could I justify putting Kawhi Leonard that close to Kevin Durant yet? I mean, Kevin Durant's been doing it since 2007 consistently. You know, he came into the NBA dominating for the most part. You know, he's been to the finals 2012, 2017, 18, and 19, although it was an abbreviated appearance for him in 19. And, you know, people might disagree with this, but I think if it was a healthy Kevin Durant, I think Durant would have won his third title last year. But, you know, that's woulda, coulda, shoulda, an argument for another video. But I do believe that I have to look at other guys and be like, okay, well, how can I justify putting Kawhi Leonard historically ahead of Kevin Durant? How can I justify putting Kawhi Leonard ahead of LeBron James historically? Yet I can't do that. So I need a little bit more. But I'll tell you this. If next year he leads the Clippers again to the championship, and let's say it's an even more dominant campaign, because let's face it, no matter how much, you know, the media want to fool people, LeBron James is getting older. And as dominant as LeBron James has played the last couple of games, there are going to be some games this year where LeBron James is going to look old. I'm telling you, I've seen these greats play, and no matter how well they stay in shape, Karl Malone was a freak of nature, country strong guy, stayed in the gym. And he was a modern day Methuselah. He played well up until he was 40 years old. But by the time Karl Malone was 37, 38, you know what I'm saying, at his, 16, 17 season or whatever have you, there were games where he looked old. There were some games he looked like the old Karl Malone, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists or whatever, But then there were some games Karl Malone looked a little old. He didn't look like the Karl Malone of old. He looked like an old Karl Malone. So there's going to be some games like that with LeBron James this year, and probably even more so next year. So, Kawhi Leonard has, barring injury, has nowhere to go else but up. And if he's to do it again next year and wins a 4th title, then I have to put him right behind a Kevin Durant. I have to put him right in that area. If he was to win a 5th title or something like that, then I have to seriously consider pushing him into a top 10, area. But that's kind of how I would have it, because if he was to win a 4th title and then a 5th title, then you have to wonder, okay, well, is it justified now to put him ahead of LeBron James and even Kobe Bryant at that time? Especially if you consider that if you do that, right, if he does win a 5th championship, that means he would only have lost 1 final. If I'm not mistaken, that would be 2013, when he was not quite Kawhi Leonard. So that's how I kind of feel about it. Right now I have Kawhi Leonard in my top 50, but he's going to get higher throughout the season, barring injury. And if they win a championship this year, and he has a dominant postseason, yeah. But I tell you one thing, Russell Westbrook right now is teetering. I mean, he's barely in my top 50. I think I took him out, but he's like barely in it. James Harden is out of my top 50. So there's that.